You know that feeling, right? You're drowning in data, but absolutely starving for wisdom? You've got the spreadsheets, the dashboards, the reports, but when it's time to make that next big call, it still feels like you're just guessing. This is one of the biggest headaches in business today. So let's dive in and figure out how to turn all that chaos into some real clarity. So here's our game plan. First up, we're going to really nail down what the core problem is. Then, we'll open up the toolkit that top consultants use to crack these kinds of problems. After that, we'll get into the mindset shift you need for analytics and how to tell a killer story with your data. And finally, we'll see how it all pulls together to make you a much sharper, integrative thinker. Ready? Let's do it. All right, first things first, let's get right to the heart of the problem. The real challenge today is that the old ways of doing things, traditional business and marketing strategies, they're just not cutting it anymore. They are consistently failing because, frankly, they weren't built for the complex digital world we live in right now. And hey, this isn't just a feeling, we've got the numbers to prove it. Check this out. Research from Accenture found that more than half of all chief marketing officers can't actually prove their big investments are paying off. And why? The number one reason is that their strategies are built on a house of cards, on assumptions, not on cold, hard, validated customer data. That's a massive, expensive blind spot. This slide just lays it out perfectly. It's like two different universes, right? On one side, you've got the old way, planning based on hunches and gut feelings, which almost always leads to messy, inflexible campaigns. But on the other side, that's where we want to be. Strategies built on actual evidence, on what customers do, not what we think they'll do. That's how you create smooth, adaptable experiences. This is the big shift we have to make. So the million-dollar question is, how do we make that leap? Well, it's not about luck. It's about having a system. So let's crack open a proven framework for success, one that's inspired by the playbooks of the best management consultants in the world. And here's our roadmap. This comes straight out of a module at Imperial College, and it's basically how consultants bring order to chaos. It all starts with being ridiculously clear about defining the problem. Then, and this is key, you structure your whole analysis before you even peek at the data. After that, you get into sourcing, analyzing, communicating, and finally making change happen. It's a discipline, and it makes sure you don't miss a thing. Now, inside that process, consultants have some seriously powerful tools. One of the most famous is this thing called the MESSI principle. Sounds complicated, right? Mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. But the idea is actually super simple. It's a thinking tool from McKinsey that forces you to break a problem down into clean, separate buckets that altogether cover the whole picture. Think of it like cutting a pizza. Each slice is separate, that's mutually exclusive. And all the slices together make the whole pizza. That's collectively exhaustive. No gaps, no overlaps. It forces your thinking to be crystal clear. But here's the thing. Having a great toolkit is not enough. You can have the fanciest tools in the world, but if your mindset isn't right, you'll still get lost. This is all about shifting your thinking to find that one clear signal inside all of the noise. A really great way to understand this mental shift is to compare financial accounting with management accounting. See, financial accounting is like a historian. It's all about reporting what already happened with perfect accuracy for people outside the company. But management accounting? That's like being a strategist. It's for internal use, it's focused on the future, and it's okay with using smart estimates to make decisions. It's about shaping what's next, not just documenting the past. And this disciplined thinking applies to the nitty-gritty stuff too. Take something as complex as valuation multiples. You can't just grab a number and run with it. No way. There's a process. First, you define what you're even talking about. Then, you describe what it looks like. Next, you analyze what's really driving it. And only then, after all that work, do you apply it. See the pattern? A structured approach is what separates sloppy guesswork from reliable analysis. Okay, so you've done all the hard work. You've dug through the data and you found that one brilliant, game-changing insight. But guess what? Your job is only half done. Because an insight that nobody understands or believes is, well, it's totally useless. So now we gotta talk about telling the story and communicating with real impact. The main idea here is super simple but incredibly powerful. Use visuals not just to show numbers but to highlight the main takeaways. And this is the magic part, to show the relationships between them. This is exactly why mastering tools like Power BI or Tableau is so important. You're not just making charts, you're building a machine to ask and answer questions visually. And here is a perfect example.
You do not need to be a finance genius to get this. Just look at the chart. Tax rate goes up, the company's valuation multiple goes down. Boom. A really complex financial relationship becomes instantly obvious to anyone who looks at it. That is what we're talking about. That's effective communication.
So let's be absolutely clear on this. The goal is not to make pretty charts. The goal is to narrate the insight. Your data, your visuals, your words, they all have to work together to tell a story that makes people sit up, listen, and most importantly, feel compelled to take action.
This all brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. Because when you put all this together, the tools, the process, the mindset, you're not just becoming a better data analyst. The real prize, the ultimate outcome, is becoming a true integrative thinker. I mean, think about what you're really gaining when you master this stuff. Yeah, of course, you get the technical skills, but you're also building the deep foundations for leadership, for real strategic thinking, even things like empathy and a global perspective. You're developing the entire skill set that every modern leader needs to have. And at the very top of that skill pyramid is integrative problem solving. It's the ability to see the whole chessboard. You're not just the finance person or the marketing person anymore. You can see how all the pieces connect, and you make decisions that are good for the entire business, not just your little corner of it. So if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. Structure is what turns a good idea into a great result. The difference between a brilliant plan that just gathers dust on a shelf and one that actually drives real, measurable growth is a systematic, data-driven framework. It's that simple. And that leaves us with one final question for you to really think about. When you look at your own work at your own company, which side of the line are you on? Are you building strategies on flimsy assumptions, or are you building them on solid evidence and telling powerful stories with data? The answer to that question just might change everything.